Thank you for joining us for this conversation. I've had the opportunity to sit back for a little while and just try to reflect on the year as it's coming to a close. Um, our organization, as you know, got jump started on January 16th, 2016. And so if you do the math, um, you can think about how far our organization has come and how much we have grown as a community of artists and arts administrators. This year has tossed, a couple of roadblocks in our way, but as artists and patrons of the arts, roadblocks are just temporary. Roadblocks are opportunities for us to think ahead, to solve problems, and to think about how we add and bring joy to the communities that we serve. Sometimes this past year, I know you were thinking about, will we ever get through this? But you know what? We will. We have. And there is a great deal of momentum still in the creative communities that we service. And so I want to first acknowledge the board members on this call from the Wichita Falls Alliance for Arts and Culture. Just wave your hands. I see Sam, Sherry Armstrong. I'm certainly going to miss somebody if I start calling names. And then I also want to acknowledge our guests from Vernon. The mayor of Vernon is with us, calling in from her doctor's office. Good to see you, Pam. And also from Vernon is Amanda Lehman, who runs their Convention and Visitors Bureau there. And to all of you, and particularly to the artists, the practicing artists on this call. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of my perspective on where we are right now as a community of creative people. I think we are poised to make change. We are poised to rethink how we have been conducting business as individual artists and as arts organizations. The pandemic has taught us a great deal about resilience, but it's also taught us that we can think through the traditional ways of doing our work to continue what we live for every day, which is to bring joy into the lives of the people that are our neighbors. And so I've tried to think about this in as much of a positive way as I can. And I want to start by talking about a couple of P's. The first one is planning. Is that in maybe 2012, the community in Wichita Falls started to draft a cultural plan for its community. And 4 years later, we launched that plan. It was a pretty ambitious concept for a community that did not have an organized local arts council. We have a lot of partners in our world, but we took a look at what the community said it needed and wanted for the arts in the city. And along with some great partners that already existed, the Wichita Falls Alliance for Arts and Culture was born. There were several priorities in that planning document. And the first one I'll just share with you briefly was to inspire participation, support, and leadership in the arts. And you have done that. As our consultants came back through our community earlier this year to give us the final report on how have we achieved our goals. This goal, the number one goal to inspire participation, got high marks and still gets high marks in my book. What you do every day to encourage people to get outside of themselves and to attend events at the Kemp Center and to be seen again in the Museum of Art at MSU. What you have done to inspire people in the library and young kids with reading books and stories. What you have done inside of your organizations to bring artists to accept their responsibility, not only for creating new things, but for sharing in different and new ways. You have inspired our community to rethink the value of the arts in our lives. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. The difficulty that we found this year in the work that we're doing as around this idea of inspiration is just an opportunity for us to rethink again how we do our work. But from the first project that we did as the Arts Alliance, and all of you were a part of that, building the darn fence, that I think set the stage for all of us to think about how we can communicate with our audiences in different ways and how we bring people inside of our world of creativity. The second goal of this plan, the second priority for this plan was equally as important. And it was to ensure that our programming met the needs of the people of our community. It occurs to me that we are not New York, we are not Dallas, we are not Fort Worth. And the most that I can do to say to all of us around this screen is that we are Wichita Falls. We are creatives in Wichita Falls. And the way that we work, the tenacity that we have, the hard edge sometimes that we bring to the table reflects the people that we're here to service. And I'm very proud to say that this very specific kind of programming that you all create, the world is begging to learn about it. We have got to stop keeping our work a secret. You know, I'm a city girl. I did buy some cowboy boots, but you all laughed at me because they were blue suede. I did buy a hat, and you guys laughed at me because it was black and wool, and I was wearing it in the summertime. But that's okay, because I now have learned so much about the communities that we service that I'm very proud to represent you. And I think that it is time for us as we move into the new year to begin to share our work much more broadly, statewide, across the country, and internationally. And we'll talk more about that later. Another priority of our plan was to build bridges across communities, across neighborhoods, across sectors. As we look at the nonprofit sector, we are the largest economic driver in our city. If we would just recognize and stand with pride that the nonprofit sector, which includes the arts, contributes greatly economically, socially, educationally to this city. We should not look down when people talk to us about what we do. We should look up with pride at the way that we have contributed to bringing neighbors from all parts of the city together, from taking the arts into new and different communities, and for understanding that the alliance of artists, the alliance of cultural institutions, is what our community wants. And that's what you shepherd forward. We are a team, you guys. The next priority of the plan was to nurture arts and culture through education and creative development. Wow. The teaching artists that we started to develop year one have just emerged as really important um, participants in the sector. But what you all have done in response to this idea of nurturing the arts gives me just great excitement. The way you have leaned into providing opportunities in the library, I see the library here, for artists to be embedded into the library programs more and more. The numbers of calls that we get now about murals and opportunities for artists to create projects in neighborhoods is very encouraging. We have not passed the test that I would like to see us pass in getting the arts in our schools, but there's work to be done there. Our children deserve to see and be informed by living artists, and that's all of you. And we cannot stop with thinking about COVID as a barrier. We've got to think about new technologies and new ways to get kids exposed to artists. And I challenge us in the coming year to think about how we do that work in a more robust way. Another priority of our plan was to promote the arts through policy development, through advocacy and publicity. Thanks to Ann Arnold Ogden, we have had some great coverage in the media, all of us as a community, as an alliance of artists and arts organizations. The public now knows and recognizes that you are ready, we are ready, that despite the challenges we have faced this year, that you have stood steadfast and continue to be creatives. But one of the things that I think we have got to focus in on in the coming year or two is advocacy. Obviously, we were all poised to accept some financial reductions from the city's allocation to the arts this year. We understand that there are lots of competing priorities. However, we, as an alliance of creatives, must focus on advocacy for the arts this coming year. We need to inform our elected officials about the power of the arts and the importance of the arts. We need to inform our communities, our neighbors, our church members, our relatives and friends about why the arts are important so that we don't get to the grant making time, the time when the city has finalized its budget and start thinking about the allocation for the arts. We need to start thinking about the 2021 budget now and the 2022 city budget because our elected officials, just as we can see across the country, focus on those things that are important to them and that they hear from constituents. So I'm challenging us in the coming year to think about how we do better at advocating for the arts. The next priority was to expand the community's capacity to advance excellence. We've done that. We continue to do that. We continue to strive toward excellence in everything that we do. But that comes with the idea that we have to take risks sometimes. We have to get outside of our comfort zones. We started this year working with the Museum of North Texas History on a really fabulous exhibition that brought community members to the museum for the first time, people that have lived in Wichita Falls all their lives and had never been to that museum. Sure, the pandemic came right on time, just as we closed that exhibit, but the work to advance excellence continues. I keep using the word deserve. Our community deserves the best. They deserve to see the best in creativity as it comes from local artists, regional artists, and national artists. Taking a risk at trying something different and trying something new is my challenge to us as we go into a new year. To reach across the aisle and dare to partner with an organization that we might think is a competing organization. But we work together strategically, and as we work together to create new grant making programs for you and to support you, our work continues to strive towards excellence. And finally, this coming year, our priority is going to shift as an organization to focus more on the local artists in our city, to make sure that we are lifting up those men and women who work inside of your organizations, but who work silently and quietly to preserve the traditions of the Wichita Falls area, of the western part of the state, and of Texas. We're going to be deepening down our concentration on providing internships for MSU students to work inside of organizations, to get them off the campus virtually and to embed them more into the organizations in our community that keep our energy going. Our regional museum network will continue. Thankfully, Tracy, Danny, and all of the folks that are part of that network have taken that work on and made it their own, and nothing makes me more proud. But the volunteers um, that continue to support all of our organizations need to see and understand that it is the artist, it is the creative, it is the individual that deserves our attention and our support. And you will see us this coming year expanding our work to deepen our commitment to highlighting the individual artists in Wichita Falls. The partnerships must continue. We cannot do this work alone. We never have attempted to as the Alliance. But for those of you who run organizations, I challenge you to create a new partnership this year. And partnerships come with a lot of frustrations, but they also come with a lot of joy. I teach arts policy, as you know, and one of the things that I talk a lot about, I would like for us to erase from our vocabulary is the word passion. I don't really mean that. I have a great deal of passion, as you know. I never thought that when I moved to Wichita Falls, it would be very difficult for me to leave. And so I'm still here. But it's the passion that I have encountered, the commitment to culture and heritage. I say all the time, I laugh all the time about people that I pass by and they say, "Oh, you're the arts lady." I do this work just so I can hear someone say that, because when they do say that, I want them to know that I live only to make sure that everyone in our city makes the arts a part of their everyday lives. As we peer into the future, we want to share a couple of projects with you that we have been working on silently, maybe in the last few months. But as we peer into the future, I want to be the first to tell you that in addition to our focusing on the individual artists next year, we will also be working to create two new works of art, public art, that I'm very proud that we have had the chance to plan for. The one new mural that will be installed later in 2021 is being designed and created by Steve Hilton and Jesse Baggett. That will be an anchor work of art in the downtown area. That project is supported by the National Endowment for the Arts, the 4B Board, and the Texas Commission on the Arts, and all of you. And then the second major anchor project that we're launching the discovery phase for now is a new sculpture that we're creating in concert with the Wichita Falls County administrators. It's a project that is still on the drawing board that will celebrate the legacy and culture of a very important African American figure in our community. As we've gone through the turmoil nationally uh, and a new awareness that Black Lives Matter, several young people have approached Judge Gossam, and he in turn called on us to think through a process that would acknowledge the legacy of one of Wichita Falls' most important heroines. And I'm happy to say, I shared with Ann that after trying to get in touch with the artist that I thought would do this work in an excellent way, I finally convinced him in my own gentle way to take on this project. And you can look up the sculptor. Eddie Dixon will be the sculptor for this project. It will take us 2 to 3 years to finish it. It'll take us some time to plan for the right site. But when we first began talking about this project, I said, as I say to you, we deserve the best. And in everything that we do, and in all my power, will work to make sure that this project comes to fruition. SELENA was one of our artists that produced the mural at what you know as Fly's gas station. a brilliant young muralist. We asked Selena to do some research with our partners in Vernon to create a mural of Roy Orbison. And Selena has done an excellent job of creating that mural. We want to unveil it with you today.
This has been something that we've wanted for years and talked about for years. And it's just so nice to now have it here in Vernon.
Art is the perfect way to bring people together and make people feel like they're part of one community. And I'm just excited to see how people come together to enjoy this mural.
We believe it's the start of very good things for downtown Vernon.
It's art and it's beautification to our city. It's having people come to our city, and it's something that our city's proud of. I mean, we're extremely proud of this.
I hope that this mural sparks a creative movement here in Vernon and that it gives local artists here opportunities.
It's definitely the highlight of 2020.
Yes.
I'm going to put Amanda on the spot and ask Amanda if you have a couple of words to share.
I'm speechless right now and got a little emotional watching the video, but honestly, it was the perfect, I know we're not done with 2020, but I'm saying the perfect ending to 2020 for us. And SELENA did an amazing job. You know, she started out with the glasses on Roy Orbison and it looked amazing. We had all talked about how amazing it looked. And next thing you know, she's redoing it. And you know what? It looks even more amazing. So SELENA, you did wonderful. And we enjoyed having you and Audra and Crystal and Vernon. And we want you to come back for sure. You definitely made an impact on our whole community. We've had nothing but positive feedback from citizens. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. And Selena, where are you?
I just want to thank the city of Vernon for having me there. It was such an honor to go there and paint for you guys. It was probably the best part of 2020 for myself as well.
So proud of you, Selena. Let me tell you guys, there's a Renaissance man somewhere in every community, and he doesn't know it or not, but Marty Mangum, the city manager of Vernon, is a Renaissance man. And I just want him to say a couple of words to all of us.
This project has meant so much to the city of Vernon. It just transformed our downtown. Everybody's driving by the mural, and SELENA and all of you did such a tremendous job that we can't thank you enough. You know, we never expected you to look us up and come out here and help us with our projects, but it gave us a boost that we hope that we can continue to develop on and transform our community in the decades to come. And we appreciate everything you guys did. And I just enjoyed seeing you each day that you were working on the mural. It was just fun for all of us. Thanks.
Excellent. Is the mayor moving away from the microphone? Can you talk, Mayor Gosling?
I just want to thank y'all so much. The Roy Orbison mural in Vernon it's what we needed. It was at the right time. We needed positivity. I've not heard anything negative, and it is just overwhelming and makes my heart happy what art has done for Vernon, Texas. So thank y'all very much.
Absolutely. When Audra Lambert and I went to Vernon for the first time, and I ate chicken fried steak, maybe, which was an amazing accomplishment for me as well. I can tell you that the reception that we got in Vernon was just overwhelming. And we have 2 more projects slated for Vernon in the coming year. Those 2 projects, as well as this one, were funded by some of our work. Oh my goodness, there's my trip. See, guys, I do have on cowboy boots. Were funded by our partners at the Pretty Foundation that also funded our cultural plan assessment. Thank you, Anne, for that memory. But anyway, so excited to let you know that the Alliance of Artists in this region can produce that kind of work, and we will do our best to make sure that it gets included in the public art projects publication that Americans for the Arts does at the end of 2021. Also on my team are two amazing young artists. One gives me a lot of pushback. That would be Amber Scott. And the other one, we have to force him to talk, and that would be Ferdine LeBlanc. And the two of them worked with our partners at Riverbend Nature Center on a project that I have been wanting to see happen since day one. And that was to reimagine the pond at Riverbend Nature Center. Amber and Ferdine worked a little bit with a public art consultant to just sort of reimagine what that space could look like. And as my luck would have it, Ferdine is a biologist and a sculptor. Amber is just the ever ready, never say die, energetic bunny rabbit. And as much as I have to push her, she comes through every single time because she's got more power than she gives herself credit for. And it is my job for being on this earth to encourage her to use her voice and to use her power. So Amber and Ferdine trucked over to Riverbend. The Riverbend Nature Center board and staff, led by Liz Martin, were welcoming partners. I think they probably looked at us a little side-eyed at first, but they opened the doors and they allowed the deconstruction of the exhibit that was there to create a new project that kids for many years to come will be able to learn about the life cycle and the importance, I should just say, of understanding that the arts and the sciences are embedded. Creativity is at the epicenter of science, and scientists try over and over again, as we can see now, to solve problems, and so do artists. And so, Anne, will you take us to Riverbend Nature Center?
This is the first immersive, interactive, permanent exhibition in Wichita Falls.
It's a mixture of science and art and beauty.
You are surrounded by the walls of the pond, and so you are able to walk in and feel like you're inside of a pond.
Riverbend's mission is to connect people to the natural environment of Texas, and so this exhibit is going to make it easier to do that. So kids are literally going to be able to walk in and be underwater. So how cool is that? We'll be able to see, organisms that live there, talk about ecosystems, talk about life cycle, ecology, water pollution, you name it. All of our programming has something to do with water.
It's a different environment from the studio. It's nice to be able to work. It's not necessarily outside, but it feels like we're outside, so it's nice to be able to work in a different environment.
Every day that I come to work at the Riverbend Nature Center, I feel like a character in a fairy tale. I am surrounded by butterflies and prairie dogs and rabbits and turtles while getting to exercise my creative artistry.
I think all of us have a similar mission, and that's to enrich the community around us. So by partnering and by lifting each other up, we just make Wichita Falls a better place to live.
We are so thankful for them. I can't even tell you how nice it looks. And JENNICA and Ferdine and Amber, I mean, they just did an incredible job. I mean, because you hear it and they tell you what they're going to do, but then when you see it, it's incredible.
Amber and Ferdine, that's 99%. I was just there for a little bit. But they really I don't know. They ran into a hurdle and they were like, bring it. How do we fix this? And how do we make this cool? And they've really devoted a lot of time and effort, and you can really tell. And we're really excited to just, expose it to the public.
Well, we can't wait to get back into the Nature Center. I encourage everyone around the screen to take your children, take your neighbors' kids with their permission, and go and see this excellent work of these two MSU graduates that have put their heart and soul, and SELENA is another MSU grad that put their heart and soul into creating this new permanent immersive work of art for Wichita Falls. It gives us so much pride. And I have to say, just a note that my board members allow us to do these kinds of projects. Their tolerance for new ideas is really high, and I am just so proud of them allowing us to stretch. This is the way that we should be celebrating the year of the pandemic, by making art available and accessible to the people that are our neighbors and our friends. I want to close this sort of state of the art message to you by saying that if you have not been convinced by seeing the results of these two projects, if you've not been convinced by seeing our online A+ arts learning programs that continue to be uploaded and provided for parents, if you have not been convinced by looking around this screen and seeing arts administrators that run museums and art centers and studios and galleries, if you've not been convinced by seeing the leadership around this screen of board members and trustees and staffs of all the organizations that we call members of our alliance, if you have not been convinced that 2020 has produced some wonderful creative outputs, let me just tell you to wait for 2021. Our work is not done. We are committed to strengthening the museums in our community, to making sure that arts administrators across our region have a reason to continue to celebrate creativity. And our organization and our board is happy to lead this charge and happy to continue to bring us together as a community of creatives.